Coming up in a few minutes, we'll take a look at how soil moisture and temperature are affecting farmers across the state and Nebraska's winter wheat crop. But first, our market analyst this week is North Dakota State University Extension economist Frayne Olson. Frayne and I talked about those drought concerns in the Midwest and supply issues in Russia and the Black Sea region. But we started by asking about surprises in the winter wheat seeding numbers.
The biggest surprise to me was the soft red winter wheat plantings. To be very honest with you, we did see about a 2% cutback from last year, but I was expecting a much larger cutback, especially when you look at the relative profitability of raising soft red winter wheat versus the corn and soybeans. So that was really my biggest surprise in the winter wheat seedings report. And it does have some implications as we move into spring now, when we start looking at what's the appropriate balance of acres as we get into the corn and soybean plantings. Because there were 2 to 3 million acres that I was expecting to go into corn and beans that now went into soft red winter wheat. So we're going to have to watch that one as we get it closer to spring.
Right, Nebraska's numbers are way down, and like you mentioned, that's going to be the battle that plays out, corn and beans and wheat all competing for acres. But like you mentioned when we talked off air, the thing that might not be getting covered now is what's happening down in Texas, Oklahoma with those drought-stricken areas.
Yeah, we did see an increase in acreage, in particular in Texas and to some degree in Oklahoma from the previous year's winter wheat seedings. I think some of that was because it was dry at that time. The farmers put winter wheat in the ground just hoping that we'd get some nice rains later in the fall. And right now we have been in particular those drought-stricken areas, have had some rain and snow showers come through. The current winter wheat condition reports suggest that we're in better shape this year than we were last year. But as we move into spring, of course, once the winter wheat starts breaking dormancy and we start using up some of the moisture reserves that have been built up in that topsoil layer, we can go from a reasonably good condition to a poor condition in a hurry. So one of the issues that I have in the back of my head is, well, even though the winter wheat crop got planted and the acreage just seems to be up, how many of those acres are actually going to be harvested?
When we look at export opportunities and what that might do for the United States, we're hearing more trouble from Russia, more trouble from the Black Sea region, and it's because of both supplies and transportation issues. Now, how can that help the United States become more competitive in the structure of price?
That's an excellent question. One of the challenges we've had, in particular in the winter wheat classes, is the weak export sales. And again, one of the things that has surprised me as we move through the winter months is how aggressively the Black Sea region, in particular Russia, has been at trying to recapture some of the market share that they lost last year when they had their export ban on. Now, what we're starting to hear out of that region is that the exportable stocks, the available stocks that they have near the export terminals, is starting to decrease. They're getting that moved through the system. Domestic prices are starting to increase competing with the international market, trying to keep some of that Russian and Ukrainian wheat in the country rather than being exported. And the other thing that's happening then is as the export market continues to purchase wheat, they're going to have to pull that wheat from further distances, meaning that we're going to have to go deeper into the hearts of Russia and Ukraine to be able to get that wheat moved to the export terminals. And that, of course, increases their costs. So one of the things that as we look forward, as the available supplies coming out of that region starts to dwindle, as the prices start to increase, we're hoping that we can, in the U.S. here, recapture some of those wheat sales in the export market.
For the last few weeks, we've been looking at what's happening in South America and potential rains and heat and how that affects corn and beans in both Argentina and Brazil. But one thing for the wheat market, Frayne, are you confident that if this corn market does drive up, wheat becomes a very profitable substitute?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's been happening, especially for the soft red winter wheat classes. The soft red winter wheats have been very price competitive with corn, especially in the eastern regions, and you get into the poultry area. And as the corn prices start to come back up with concerns out of the South American crop, we're seeing the soft red winter wheat as well as hard red being pulled back up accordingly. So there is a feed substitute, although we're not accustomed to that as much in the U.S. as we are in the world market. It is still a competing feed, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on. So the wheat market right now, it really still tends to be a follower to the corn market because that's the one that's a leader.
Next week, Wade Johannes from Central Valley Ag will join us to take a look at corn and soybean markets.